Welcome back to Edge Work, presented by FanDuel as part of the Hammer Betting Network. I am Alex Moretto, joined here today by both Matt Alber and So Money to break down tonight's games, give out some best bets. We will throw some parlays together. But first, I want to, in the interest of full transparency, because that's what we're all about on this show, I want to recap last night. I did not have a great night, 3-4. Alber, maybe a slightly worse night. Albert, do you want to get into your 0-5 night here?
Hockey is definitely not back. Definitely not back. Yeah, let's just go one at a time here. The Bruins, we already got a comment there. We got sewered by Jonas Korpisalo. We did get sewered by Jonas Korpisalo in a game that was 2-1. I think it was 2-1 in the third.
Yes, it was.
That kind of sucked. The Flyers, I mean, we kind of talked about it, and the game kind of played out that way. The
Flyers were maybe the worst bet we made last night.
Yeah. They're just very capable of getting goal leads. So anytime you bet them, you do kind of know that, and that kind of played itself out. That Oilers over, we got a big line move while on the show. And
that was a great bet.
I think
there was 10.5 expected goals in that one. That deserved to go over. That's just I'd make that bet 10 to 10 times. That's process was right there. That was just a bad result.
Yeah, no, and that was 2-2 in the second period too. There's not really much of a reason that shouldn't get home. It's funny. We can get into the trade. Ducks, it was a plus 150. I thought they actually played okay. I don't think that was really a 4-1 game, whatever. What's the other one? San Jose. Yeah, it's never really good when you're on an under and a goalie lets in 4 goals in 5 shots. Usually not going to be in for a good night on that front. Am I missing another one, or is that it? Because
I think for you I think that was all for you.
And even myself, that San Jose game, I think that game had under 5 expected goals or something. That was a pretty low event game, and we just got sewered by Askarov last night, which is not something that I was expecting, obviously.
So for myself, I said Flyers was bad bet.
Oh no. You see the comment?
Yeah, I saw the Knish tweet. Oh man, that was good. Yeah, so Flyers bad bet. Caps. Look, 5-on-5. Caps are great. I thought they were the better team for a lot of that game. 68% expected goal share. They ended up losing in overtime. It is what it is. I don't think that was the wrong side necessarily. Those two were losses. The Korpisalo one, yeah. The second we got the Korpisalo start, I wanted out of that. It is what it is. It happens sometimes. I'm very surprised they went to Korpisalo. And that over in Edmonton, Detroit, that was the 4th one I lost. I thought that was a good play. I would have made that play. I would take that game and that bet every single time the way it played out. If you do that and it plays out that way every time, you're going to win a lot more often than not. So nothing wrong there. Wild ended up being maybe my biggest bet of the season. I'd have to go back and actually add it all up, but I'm pretty sure I had more on the Wild last night than I have had on any team. I did not understand. I tweeted it out late last night too. I just did not understand the move towards the Habs yesterday. They took money early. There was a little bit of buyback. The Habs took money again, and then they took money again leading up to game time. They closed minus 146. I think that might have been maybe the worst number I've seen in a long time. Talk about market efficiency and this and that. I think there is some significant money in the market this year that has a lot of say and maybe shouldn't. And that's just something I've noticed a lot, where I think I was talking to, I'm not going to name names, but I was talking to a pretty prominent hockey bookmaker the other day, and he was saying that some of his for his biggest positions himself that he's made this year have been just buying back on some of these big moves. And that's basically all it's been, because there is some crazy money in the market right now. And I think there's some it's kind of reckless money. I don't think, I think it's taking away from market efficiency. I think this is maybe the least efficient market I've seen, at least for sides, in a long time, betting the NHL. I don't know if somebody, would you agree with that? How do you feel about how we've seen the market sort of play out this year?
I completely agree. But the great thing is that the markets always eventually get to the level of efficiency. It's not going to be this year. probably not this year, but we'll be ready for it next year when we know that there's, like how you called it, reckless money in the market. So we'll be ready for it next year, right? And like we know when it's moving, we know when it's coming. We have a sense of which teams get bet, and it'll get efficient again this year. I mean, to be honest, it took me by surprise too, right? We talked about it early in the year, where I'm sitting there charting my games, and where did this move come from, right? And like, there's no news element here. There's no interest from any groups I'm talking to. Like, there's no reason for this money to move this way, and I think that we'll get back to that level. But I completely agree with you for this year, though.
Yeah,
So
and in talking to this guy as well, he was saying, which obviously something we've talked about on the show, and like this is not a surprise to us, but he's like, in booking some of these or in seeing the money that's coming in, like has never seen money come in like this at such random times, which we have very much discussed before, right? Also, money coming in like before we have goalie confirmations, when it's very much up in the air, and there is a significant difference between who starts in that game. Maybe we actually jumped the gun on the show yesterday by expecting Swayman. I did think there was a very high likelihood of Swayman. I felt comfortable with that, so that's fine. Sometimes you get burned, but honestly, the market, like betting, I don't care if it's Decord or Grubauer and just going on games or whatever. Like, that's just one example, but like that also just really opens up opportunities for us at the end of the day. And maybe I think I've fallen victim to this. This is something that I have started to get away from over the last like couple weeks, especially I've noticed, but like respecting the market so much and be like, okay, maybe I'm missing something here. Like in the past, I see that Habs move last night. And I'm like, all right, I think I'm missing something here. I stay with my initial bet and I just like eat it or whatever. And after the fact, I'm like, wow, I should have added last night. And like lately I've started to add a lot more when the market gets kicked back against me. I feel like more often than not, it is working out. I don't understand where some of this stuff is coming from. Like Alber, you talked about it a bunch too, how like teams like Utah, Ottawa, Nashville, they just get smacked every single game, it seems like.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that again tonight, kind of with Nashville. Yeah, just bet the winners, and then it doesn't even matter. Just bet the winner. But no, I agree with all that. Like, there are just so many of these weird moves, and a lot of them kind of happen while we're on air too, which is kind of funny because I don't even know how many times this year something's happened where we're sitting here going, why the hell is this side moving? But yeah, I mean, even like between the show, like we talk about that 11 name group all the time right after the show. It's just I agree that it's just like I don't think the market's been necessarily the best this year. That said, sometimes it doesn't really open up the opportunities for us on the show, and sometimes it does. So it's just
that's the thing. That's a good point. It makes it very difficult. Like if we are just gonna there's been a lot of times where I'm betting later in the day, a lot more than I have ever in the past. It was like usually I'd go a week with like maybe once or twice I would have a later bet just based on like goalie news or something. But for the most part, most of my betting was done early. This year, I find I'm like so much more patient in the morning. I'm not nearly like rushing to get stuff in. For the most part, I'm comfortable just sitting back and letting things play out in the market and like getting in later. And sometimes it does hurt our ability to get down stuff on the show or whatever. But that is also something I've noticed, how much later I'm betting and how much more success, like my ROI being so much higher on later bets, which is also very, very strange for me. That is not something I'm used to. So many nodding your head there. You kind of experienced the same thing this year?
Yeah. So it's funny. Like the other day, I don't remember what day. Like you guys know, usually I'm up like super early, and the other day it was a big card, and for those when there's a big NHL card, I'm up like super super early. Like we're talking like 4:30, right? Or like even 4 sometimes if it's like a big card. But I was just like I actually slept in an hour, right? Like I woke up at 5:30, right? I was like, this is great. But and the reason for that is that like just like you, I'm betting later in the day as well. Like unless if like I want to get on something early, right? Like I bet Nashville today, right? Because Nashville gets bet.
Nashville gets bet. There's certain teams where you can't wait.
Yeah. So I knew I had to bet Nashville early today, right? So stuff like that, right? But like other than that, like and that brings up a good point where we're talking about where we talk about tracking your bets as well. It's the timing of your bet is also important as well, because if you determine patterns in that, you can go back and see that when you're placing your bet and how it corresponds to the limits in the market, right? If you're getting caught up with betting too early, where the market is not as efficient, and maybe you don't have the edge that you think you do, or you're betting too late when you should be betting earlier, right? So stuff like that will start standing out when you track the timing of your bet as well.
Yeah. All right. We have some stuff to get into as well as some games tonight. I see the comment from Twins Picks here. We will talk about the trade in a little bit and Charles' future. We'll get to that as well. We will do that after we get into the games. But before we get into the games, we got some business to take care of, because the NHL is heating up and FanDuel is bringing you more action than ever, because everyone knows hockey just hits different. Load up a power play with the hottest same-game parlays found on the Parlay Hub. Lace them up and follow your bets with player prop tracking, or bet on the fly with the Pulse. The hunt for the cup starts here. Get more from the NHL with FanDuel, North America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can kick off the season with $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Just place any $5 bet and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Please play responsibly. Must be 19 plus and physically located in Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-866-531-2600. That's 1-866-531-2600, or visit connexontario.ca. All right. We will get to those questions from the chat and anything else that anyone else wants to put in there. I see a question from Rolly and stuff as well. We'll get into all this stuff, as well as our no goal parlay or anytime goal parlay, all that sort of stuff. But first, let's start with the games. And I guess, So Money, I will start with you here first, because you did allude to it already. We have the Preds tonight in Buffalo. Preds -132 on the money line. Sabres +110. Total of 6.5. -105 to the over. -115 to the under. I mean, you already said it, so I will just give you the floor as to why you are on the Predators tonight.
Yeah, I bet the Predators. I like them to -135. It's got so Buffalo has they're coming up for 7-2 win against Boston. I was on Boston in that game. I don't necessarily think that was a game that that was indicative of a 7-2 score. It was one of those games that we're seeing from Boston now, where they just don't have it in them to stop things from snowballing on them. They're just not good enough. So even though Buffalo won 7-2 there, I do take a little bit away from that win for them, just because of what Boston is and what we know Boston is right now. For Nashville, I saw them firsthand against the Canucks. I thought that was an unlucky loss. They did play well enough to win that game. Demko was great, and besides that loss to Anaheim, which I'm going to give them a break on a bit, because prior to that loss, they've actually been playing very well, to the point where we were doing the Alber or is Nashville back, right? So Nashville, they're not back, right, but they are better than how they're being priced in the market. So even now, up to -135, I still like them, and I did bet them. I expect a better effort from. I expect a good effort from Nashville, the way that they've been playing. I think that Anaheim game was an aberration, and that's not something that I'll be looking for that to continue. And I think after a couple losses here, we'll see a better, more polished Nashville team, like the kind of team that we were seeing them beat up when they were beating up on bad teams like Chicago and San Jose twice. So even though they gave up a lot of goals in San Jose, but like those things were just that's a bit of a blip there too. So I expect a better defensive game from Nashville. I don't think Buffalo can play that way, and I do think that Nashville gets it done.
Albert, are you in agreement here, or where are you coming on this one?
We're starting off the show with a head-to-head here. Love this on a Friday. I never lose head-to-heads anymore, so may as well just go with another one. So I get what he's saying about the Buffalo game against the Bruins. I agree. That was probably their worst game in a little bit of a stretch here. But before that, they've been playing pretty well against some pretty good teams. So it's not like I look at that and say, like, okay, I think this team's kind of due for a loss or anything here. Like, they played pretty well against, like, I know the Canucks have been struggling with, like, Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton before that. Like, they played a pretty good stretch. And I think a lot of these Nashville underlying numbers are kind of being influenced by those two games against San Jose that were just crazy on both ends. I just don't really see why Nashville's laying, besides the fact that so many bet it. I don't really see why Nashville's laying this number here. I don't. I don't know. I'm going to get out ahead of fading kind of this Nashville move today. They're going to win 6-1, but I will go head to head here with Buffalo. Kind of anything 110 and up. I would like the Sabres here, probably to like plus money.
Okay. So a head to head here to start the show. I am shocked that I'm saying this, but I would actually lean more with Albert here than I would with So Money's Pred side. I didn't bet the game though. I'm not betting it at current. The only way I would end up betting it is if Nashville is able to get pushed up significantly higher, then maybe I'll come back on a Buffalo play. But I just think that I do agree that Nashville's playing better. Well enough for me to lay off the Canucks the other night at what I thought was a big number, but I do see why the Preds have, the respect that they've been getting is starting to be a little bit more warranted. The thing that with them though that I've noticed, they're a very different team at home and on the road. Their splits are pretty significant. Away from Bridgestone, they have struggled a bit more, whereas they are kind of caving in teams on home ice. Defensive numbers especially have dipped significantly. I just think, Sabres have been a little bit better at home as well. Just haven't been at home much. Only 7 of the last 22 games in Buffalo, but they did play well in those. They beat Boston, beat Carolina, beat Washington, lost to Seattle and Pittsburgh in what were maybe two of their best actual games at home over that stretch. Just didn't quite get the goaltending. I also think there's a chance we get a Noonan here. I know it is the first of a back-to-back, which is typically maybe where they'd start Saros, but like they do seem to be capping Saros at 2 starts. So I don't know. We'll see. He hasn't started 3 in a row since December, but the fact that this is the first of a back-to-back maybe makes them a little bit more likely to go back to Saros here. So nothing for me right now at current numbers. If this did get pushed up to like Buffalo -1, like above -120-ish sort of, I think I'd be okay coming back with a play on the Sabres, but nothing for now. I will just sit back and watch you guys go head to head. All right, so we got a next game here. We have the Canucks at the Stars. Stars without Heiskanen for the first time this season. -178 at home to the Canucks, +146. Total of 5.5, -115 to the under, -105 to the over. So Money, I would typically start with you here because this is your Canucks team, but we did just go to you for the Preds, so I'll let Alber kick us off here. Oh, and he's on mute. Shouldn't have done it.
Sorry, I was typing. I don't want to do it. I definitely lean the Canucks here. I was kind of hoping to get So Money's take on kind of what he thinks is going on with them. I just think this Heiskanen loss is probably even bigger than it's valued in the market. And I think the market certainly values him. But I think it's worth more to this team. Kind of when you look at what they have back on defense, like, are they going to be putting Ilya Lyubushkin into a first pair role at this point? Like, what? Or is it going to be like Lindell? Like, I don't know. I think just that defense core in Dallas gets very thin very quickly. And the Canucks have definitely been playing a lot better lately. Nah, Nish tweets never had me rattled. Nothing he does rattles me. The fact he's thinking about me on his Friday morning is all I need. Yeah, so like the Canucks have been playing a little bit better as of late, and just this loss for Dallas, I think, is just so massive. So I wanted somebody's take on kind of if he thinks like the Canucks are going to be able to keep it going, or if this was kind of just like a 1 or 2 game thing. I definitely lean to the Canucks at this number, but I have not played it. No.
So Money, have you played it? Do you have interest in playing it? Where are you at with your Canucks here? Are you finally buying back in after a couple wins, or do you think this is just more smoke and mirrors? What's the lowdown here in Vancouver?
All right, let's gather around.
Gather around, kids.
So I was thinking about the Canucks the other day, right? As I quite often do. And
just the other day.
Just the other day, I was just thinking. I was just thinking about them, about what's going on with the team, and then I thought of Jim Rutherford making that, doing that interview with just coming outwardly and saying that Miller and Pedersen don't get along, and the code rift is too large for them to coexist, and basically saying that they are going to break up the core. There's no way around it. Of course, my initial thought was that, are you stupid? If you want to trade somebody, right, why are you depreciating the asset like that in the marketplace where everybody knows that you want to trade them? And then I thought that this guy has been around the block. He knows, he's a very sharp guy. I think we can all agree to that. So if he is doing this, he knows exactly what he's doing, right? And then I sat there thinking, why would you do that? Everybody knows, like around the league, that the Canucks are looking to trade one or maybe both of these guys. Everybody knows that already. So for him to go out and say that in public, that's not news to his peers that he's going to be making the trade with. However, now that it is out in public, now that increases the pressure on a lot of these markets that and a lot of these other GMs for now it's out there. So now, like, we need to start making offers, and like Jim Rutherford or Alvin and whoever is in charge there can start making can start having teams bid against each other for these for this kind of thing, because it's so public, right? So even though you may not get, we're not going to get market value for either of these guys. Trades for this caliber player at this point, you're just not going to get market value for it. We already know that. So the best you can do is kind of create a buzz so that you can start leveraging offers against each other. So I think that was the reason why that happened and why it's so public now. Secondly, it's so public. It's embarrassing, right? Like imagine you're sitting there as like a player on a team, and now you're called out for being essentially a baby, right? Unless if there's sexual relations between wives and girlfriends or between yourselves, right? Like there's no reason why anything in the locker room should get to this level. There's just no reason, right? Like, we've all played sports, like shit happens. You fight it out behind the scenes, and then you move on. That's the way it should be, right? So because these things fester, now it's out there in the public, and it's embarrassing that, like, now we know that, like, both of these guys are like a couple of babies, right? Like you can't handle your shit just behind closed doors, right? So now it's out there, and I think that it was intentional. So now to the game. I do like the Canucks. I will bet them. I like them down to not minus. I like them to plus 140.
Good to
minus
also
minus 140.
Yeah, Canucks good minus 200.
But also minus 140 too.
Yeah. So I do like them down to the level. And I agree that Dallas becomes really thin on defense. There is a slight concern with the way that the Canucks are winning. They're starting to get goaltending, and they're winning tight games. They're not necessarily they're playing better defensively for sure. They're struggling against a little bit on offense. But you look back, this was their DNA last year, right? Their last 3 games here, this is exactly how they've won last year, right? There's on the back of good goaltending. So there's nothing different on that front. So yeah, I think I'm good with the Canucks unless if Moretto has a head-to-head.
I do not. Before I touch on this game at all, Alber messaged me in the background and said, I want to add to this. So Alber, add to this. What do you have to say about what So Money said?
So in a shocking turn of events, I'm going to make this about the Rangers. I know that's never happened ever before. So you kind of touched on how, like,
I regret everything.
It forces other teams to make move, right? Well, like, the first team that did that was the Rangers, team that needs to make a move. So yeah, I think in a sense it kind of was like, oh, there's an elite center out there. Like, okay, like the team's gonna need to make a move. And yeah, the Rangers felt pressure to do it. And I think so many's point about that is kind of correct. Like any of these GMs that are kind of sitting there in a mode where they need to do something, they're kind of gonna look at this and go, oh wow, like JT Miller's a really good player. Like there's a player of this caliber out there. Like, yeah, we need to go get him, especially at this point where I think everyone kind of expects that he's going to go for a bit of a discount. So yeah, like I certainly understand that part of it. I think that's a real thing too. Like, especially when you see a name out there that you know is going to get dealt, it does kind of put some pressure on, like, are you just going to let this guy go? No, I agree with that. And then, yeah, like I obviously don't disagree with the play.
Okay. So yeah, no disagreement. I agree with the play. I do think the Heiskanen loss is very significant. I do think the Canucks are finding their game a little bit, especially on the road. I also wish we got a slightly better number here on this total, because the Canucks are playing really well defensively, and I know that like maybe it seems counterintuitive that, oh, no Heiskanen, that's going to hurt them, the Stars defensively, but like what I think is we're going to see a drastic shift in how they approach this game. They know they have now a cluster injury on the back end. Lundqvist just put on IR as well. They need to kind of shelter who they have back there. I do think we see a more conservative approach from them in order to do that, and I do think that lends itself to an under in this game. But unfortunately, we're kind of at a point where I don't really have much interest betting it. I do have interest betting the Canucks though at this price. I will end up on the Canucks at this. I mean, I wasn't sure if we'd end up getting better or not, or if I could wait. But like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine going at this number right now. That's the plus 150s that are widely available out there. I regret not getting on the Canucks the other night against the Predators. I'm not going to make that same mistake again here. So yeah. Is that a triple best bet on the Canucks? Alber, were you in on this, or you agreed, but you betting it or not betting, or what's happening?
Yeah, fuck it. Might as well.
Oh, no. That's not the answer I was looking for. But all right. Triple best bet.
I like that.
All right. Let's move on to the next game here. We have the Blues at the Avalanche. Avs minus 184, Blues plus 152, total of 5.5, minus 128 to the over, plus 104 to the under. So money. You could kick us off here.
Yeah, I do like the under, but in the end, I'm not going to end up playing it. Colorado's a weird team. I don't know if that Rantanen trade, what that's doing for the dynamic in the locker room. I still believe that there's the other shoe to fall here. I don't think that Colorado will be going into the playoffs with the current composition of the roster here. So, but until then, I'm not too sure what's going on with that team. I expected better efforts from them. We did bet the Islanders the other night, but I expected that to be a close game. It was for a long stretch, but I really didn't like the way Colorado played that game. So, and even we touched on the win against the Rangers as well. I don't think Colorado deserved to win that game either. And then the 3 games prior to that were losses where they played well against Winnipeg, but ended up being a coin flip that they lost. So and they're starting to give up chances again as well. So it's especially the last 2 games against the Rangers and the Isles. Back at home, I would expect a semi-return to their form, which starts with good defense for them at home. But knowing what I know about the way that they're playing, I can't get there right now, even though I have an edge on the under. I just don't like the way that they're approaching games right now, and I don't know if that's something that's going to continue because of the way they are now, or because there's something else going on behind the scenes because of the trade. So, because that trade shocked a lot of people by all accounts within the organization. Yeah. So, so for those reasons, just because I just don't know what kind of team we'll get tonight, I will ultimately pass on the game.
Yep. Fair enough. Just to answer Mike's comment in the chat, I am expecting Hofer tonight. That's who I would expect in this game, just based on the rotation that they've been doing. It's 2 for Binnington, 1 for Hofer, 2 for Binnington, 1 for Hofer. Pretty consistently now for a while they've been doing that. And this has been back-to-back Binnington starts. Also both losses. So like, there's no reason to like ride the hot hand or anything like that. They don't really have a hot hand going. So I think it would be Hofer here. Albert, do you have anything in this game?
So the short answer is no, I have nothing. The longer answer, kind of to his point about Colorado, like I do think when you trade a player away like Rantanen, who's very unique, I think, in that top line, he brings this a skill set that not many players have there, and especially someone who's been playing with McKinnon for so long. I think when you take a player like that away from one of your elite players, like there is an adjustment period that comes in there to him, and kind of not having him there. And it's like, obviously Natchez is a really good player, but he does not bring the same type of game that Mikko Rantanen does. They're very different players. So I do think, like, even in that aspect, like, I don't think long-term I'm necessarily worried about Colorado. I agree with that front. They're definitely going to make another move or something. I do think in the interim that, yeah, that top line, that power play, whatever, may struggle a little bit more. Just trying to fit in a player of a much different skill set than they're not really used to. I could give an example going to the Rangers a couple of years ago when they forced Patrick Kane in the top of their lineup. It's just like you bring in a player that they're just kind of not used to having. Yeah, there's going to be an adjustment period, but like McKinnon and Rantanen too have been playing for years. So it's not even like this is like a one season thing. It's just, I think McKinnon's having to adjust the way he plays, and you don't really want to do that to your elite players and make them adjust like that. So that's kind of the longer answer. The short answer is I don't have anything tonight. I do tend to kind of lean to Avalanche unders for a little bit here while they try to figure it out. I'd like an opportunity to fade them. The Blues aren't really a team that I want to do it with. They just struggle to score too much for me. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay, I don't have anything to add to this. I don't have a bet on this game. We don't just spend more time on it. You guys have covered things pretty well. I will just bring up this comment from Frank. Nate Dogg shot attempts since the trade has gone up. That is something that I have noticed as well, and someone I know who does a lot of player prop stuff has brought that to my attention as well. And so I tried to like sort of dig into like maybe why that could be. It makes a lot of sense when you think about how that line doesn't have a trigger man anymore. Necas is definitely a pass first guy. Rantanen was always the go-to shooter on that line. Someone needs to step up and start taking shots for them. And I think McKinnon is realizing that, and I think McKinnon has started to do that. They have gone up drastically over his last few games. I think that is a trend to continue to monitor. I don't bet. Like, I'll be the first to say I do not bet player props that often, like especially like shots and stuff like that. But so I don't know if there's been an adjustment with the line, but something to kind of monitor going forward. All right.
And McKinnon's very much just kind of like a fuck this shit, I'll do it myself guy. Like as much as there is in the entire league. So like
matters when into his own hands sort of thing.
When you lose Rantanen, who's obviously a high volume shooter, like McKinnon's definitely the guy that he's not going to be looking to set up. Like Druin's not going to want to take a bunch of shots. Like Nate just doesn't take a bunch of shots. So if those three stay together, which I don't think they do, like I think they end up splitting McKinnon and Nate just personally at some point. But like McKinnon's just going to be like, screw this, I'll just do it myself.
Yeah. All right, one more game to get to here, and then there are some comments in the chat I have not forgotten. We are going to get to those as well. We have the Jackets at Utah. Jackets plus 180, Utah minus 220, over 6.5, plus 102, under minus 124. Jackets coming off a big win last night in Vegas. I had the under in that game. I did not expect the Jackets to end up winning that though. And honestly, what was a good Jackets performance? It wasn't one of those like, oh, they get absolutely caved in. Ryslikin stands on his head and, they find a way to win the game. They were in that game. It wasn't a high event game. Definitely wasn't a high event game, but defensively they were a lot better than I expected. And that was one of the first times I've actually seen something from Columbus. I was like, you know what? Maybe they really are finding something here. Albert, are you going to ride the Jackets tonight with So Money's boy Tarasov in net?
No. No. We'll keep that short and simple there. No. I lean to the under here, if anything. I don't want to get the Tarasov under, and I'm just not getting the number I'd like at this point. So no side, no total. I would lean to the Jackets. I don't want to do it. I just still don't believe in this Utah team. I'm gonna end up fucking talking myself into this. I do think the number's too high. It's just gross. I don't want to do it.
I think
I haven't
you
done it
should
yet.
show more respect to Tarasov after he shut out your Rangers on Saturday night a couple weeks ago. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but are you going to do it or what are you going to do here?
Fuck it. Throw it in.
What's that? On under?
I hate you. No, throw in the Jackets.
Jackets. You're on the
Jackets over the under.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Jackets.
still don't like this Utah team. I still don't think they should be laying like minus 200 to pretty much anyone in any spot. Like even Columbus on a back-to-back here. Like you said, they have been kind of playing better as of late too. I'm just not there on Utah. Is really all it is.
Fair enough. So Money, do you have anything in this game? Are you double best betting the Tarasov-led Jackets, or where's your head after this one?
So I did just bet the over in this game. Couple of things here. I agree that there's no reason for Utah to be laying this number, right? I mean, like this is insane. But we have Tarasov starting, and just because you was that Rangers game his last game?
No, he started that. They got blown up by Carolina, I believe was his last game.
Yeah, so he lost 7-4 to Carolina, which I don't necessarily think he like looking at the number here, I don't think he played that poorly. Carolina they just blitzed them. So and then before that he was struggling. So yeah, I did play the over here where we should get Tarasov, and he's just not very good. And then if Utah should be favored, they shouldn't be favored by this much. I think it might be tough for Columbus to bring the same defensive play that they brought against Vegas. I thought that they played very well defensively, and as you mentioned, Alex, I thought that they were full value for that win. They played they did play well enough to win. Of course, concern about Vejmelka. I've talked about Vejmelka quite a bit on this show. He's one of those guys that he can be outstanding in some games, and he can just be absolutely terrible as well. So I'm hoping that we get that terrible Vejmelka. But the good thing is that I don't think we need a terrible Vejmelka performance to get this over. I think that as long as he's not out of this world, if we get an average performance from him and what I expect, the expected performance from Tarasov, then we should get to 6. So that's the reason why I bet the 6. I think it's going to be difficult for Columbus to replicate the way that to replicate their defensive play in this situation.
Yep. I would definitely lean that way, especially with Tarasov. And Vejmelka's performances he's erratic, but he's also overall just sort of dropped off a little bit over the last kind of month or so. So definitely would be my lean. And yeah, I would lean towards Columbus. I'm not buying into this team after, it was still just one game though. I'm still very hesitant, but as Mike brings up in the chat here, a win tonight and they're 7 points ahead of the Rangers for a wild card spot. That is significant for them to be in this position this late in the season. Especially like with what they went through in the offseason and stuff, that is very impressive. So yeah, this race is getting a little bit away from us here, our Habs and our Rangers. I think I'm declaring the Habs dead. I feel very strongly about that. You cannot overcome that.
Weird. Who was it that declared them dead about a week and a half ago?
Well, they weren't dead if Goulet was still in there. It's the Caden Goulet injury that really changes things for them.
We don't need to go on a Caden Goulet rant, but like I do think it's funny, and someone's made the comment to me on the side before that like you talk about him like he's like Cale Makar, and I get that he is like I do like him. I do think he is kind of valuable to them, but like I don't think he's the reason that they're dead.
I mean,
like
he's
a Goulet injury would not be the difference between dead and not dead for me.
At this point, he's a number 2 or at worst number 3 defenseman on basically every team in the league, and on a team like the Habs that doesn't have the depth you cannot absorb a loss like that and be okay. Like the minutes he logs, he plays all the tough minutes, all the tough assignments. You cannot absorb that and still, be good.
A number 2 defenseman on every team in the league.
or three.
Oh,
at worst a 3.
Okay.
I said, yeah.
Sure
he's not a household name. He's a young guy in this league. He's a very good defenseman. He's very good defensively. He chips in offensively. Can play penalty kill. Can play power play in a pinch. Like he takes all the hard minutes. Like that is why they are toast, because you're replacing him with a guy like, it's just like so many talks about how Tyler Myers. We're not like Tyler Myers isn't incredible, but when you remove him from the lineup, and it's all of the other guys that have to now log all these extra minutes to make up for it. It has such a ripple effect, and yeah, they're not deep enough. They're not nearly deep enough on the back end to absorb that. Nonetheless, let's get to some comments from the chat in a second. First, I will recap today's best bets. We have 3 bets for tonight. We have the Canucks plus 150, the Jackets Utah over 6 minus 110, and then the Jackets plus 180. And we also have a head-to-head where Alber is on the Predators and Alber's on the Sabres. So money on the Predators tonight. That's it for the games. We have some, if you guys want to send your goal scorers and stuff in the chat, that would be great. While you're sending those, we will get to a couple different questions that I have noticed in the chat that I wanted to answer here. One from Charles, got a future I want the boys to think about. Sens Atlantic 18-1. Panthers lacking the sense of urgency, and we all know what we think of the Leafs. Bolt's also a factor, but Sens number is better. Shop around. So many of these are your Senators. I will let you take the lead on this one. How do you feel about Sens Atlantic 18-1? Omar probably going to be back pretty soon as well. Where's your head at here?
Why the fuck not? At that number, right? It's the exact same reasoning why I don't know if anybody joined me, why I bet Tampa Bay to win that division. It's the exact same reasoning, right? There's nothing has changed with Florida. They're coasting, and I'm hoping that they at some point they will turn it around. And I'm hoping that that's a little bit later than what I expect this year. The Leafs have fallen into what we thought they were going to, so they've played to our expectations, or they played down to our expectations. Ottawa has been playing to our expectations. Like there's no reason not to. So I think it's an outstanding bet.
Albert, you have any thoughts on it?
I don't have a whole lot of feeling on it personally. I'm just still not as high on this team as I know so many is. I'm not quite there. I still think Toronto finds a way to do it in the end. It's not the worst bet. It's just not something I've really looked into.
Yeah, so I don't think the Sens ultimately win the division, but I think they have a much better than 18-1 chance, which is all this is about. So I definitely would not be opposed to making that. Omar is going to be back soon. That's significant. Although I will say they have been getting the goaltending since he's been gone. That has not been an issue for them. It's more so been the scoring that's been an issue, but they have room to add. I'm sure they will add. And yeah, there's a path. At the very least, there's a path. That's, you can't deny that. All right, we'll get to this one from Twins Picks. Thoughts on the Flyers and Flames trade? I don't have a ton to add here. I thought that didn't make a lot of sense from the Flyers perspective. I would hope that they're gonna go ahead and add something else now after giving up those two. I thought they gave up a little bit too early on a couple of those guys. And the one thing that pissed me off is the Habs have the Flames first round pick this year, and looking at this Flames forward group now with those two guys, it's a deep group. It's a pretty they don't have the high end talent maybe, but they have a very deep team up front right now. I really like that for Calgary, and good on them, honestly, for rewarding the team for being in this race this late in the season, which no one expected. They see that they have a chance to snatch a playoff spot, and they're going for it. So respect. You guys have anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think that this move, my first thought was about the Canucks playoff race here.
Mhm.
I think that this does give Calgary a leg up. We already knew that they're not going anywhere. They're gonna stick around the whole season, but I felt that ultimately they do fall short in the end. But now you're looking at um, especially adding Frost. He's a very good young player. That's just on the tip of getting to his prime, and I think that's going to continue from the Flyers' perspective. Yeah, you got rid of Farabee's contract. I know that was important. I think he has over 5 years left on there's like multi years left on that or something. So where the Flyers are in that situation, in their current situation, I think it made sense to get rid of Farabee's contract, but it also cost you Morgan Frost. So I don't know if it was worth it to lose that guy to get rid of this contract, right? So, and then the other thing too is that this is Kuzmenko's third team now in a couple of years. Like, there's obviously something going on there, right? And we saw it firsthand that he just wasn't a talk-it player. If you're not a talk-it player, how are you going to be a Torts player, right? So I think that that's going to be an interesting dynamic there in Philadelphia. Um, how him and Torts are going to get along, because he doesn't like playing defense, guys, right? And he doesn't like back checking. He likes to cherry pick,
He likes
and
to score goals.
that's not going to go well with Torts.
Yeah, they're getting Russia fever there in Philly. Maybe it'll help bring Michkov out of his shell a little bit, though. Maybe someone for
Maybe.
him. Who knows? Albert, I know you were probably higher on Farabee and Frost than both of us at one point, at least coming into the season. You kind of really like that Flyers forward group. You think that you surprised, caught off guard by this move?
Yeah, I was. I thought, especially like the way that we've seen the Flyers been playing as of recently too. Like, I did not see them kind of doing a big shakeup like this. I admittedly, like, I've never watched Kuzmenko that much, but my first thought was like the Flyers just got fleeced here. Because I do still like Farabee. Like, he's still only 23, I think 23, 24. Like, he's still a young guy. I think he's pretty solid. Like, I thought Morgan Frost, like, I know Torch doesn't like him, but like, I still think there's a good player there. I don't know. That's how it affects the Rangers. That's good. Yeah, I think it helps the Rangers. I think the Flyers got worse out of this trade. Yeah, kind of like that. I think the Flames won the trade for sure. And I do agree. Like, the first thing I kind of looked at after this was like the Flames, kind of how they look now. Like, that is a deep forward group now.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So like, I know a team that we were kind of very low on going into the year. Like, I certainly think
to be honest.
Yeah, I certainly think that they got better out of this. Like, for sure. Yeah, it's a team that if they had Torts, he would drag this team into the playoffs. This kind of Flames.
I was thinking, this is so off topic and so irrelevant, but I was thinking about how, like, it would be cool to make this is so stupid. I don't know if I was like blitzed out of my mind last night or what it was, but I was like, you got to make like an Oilers Flames, like a combine the Oilers Flames into one team and then combine the Leafs Sens into one team, because they both, like, Flames and Sens seem like on a similar plane, and then Oilers Leafs on a like similar plane. Obviously, Sens a little bit better than Calgary, Oilers better than the Leafs. What would like an all Alberta team versus an all Ontario team look like? Who wins that? I want to kind of put those rosters together. I think that would have. I don't know. I think I was out of my mind last night thinking about that. But like, it's similar how like the Alberta team.
Did you just start that with I was blitzed out of my mind last night?
I was a little bit. But how the Alberta and the Ontario teams have kind of
sounds like
have taken like a similar path here. You know, I don't think anyone expected Calgary to be in this. I didn't expect Ottawa to be as thick in this as they are. But yeah, we these Canadian teams, we might get like 6 of them in the playoffs this year, which is pretty cool.
It's also so sorry, just to touch on that trade too. It's also interesting from the Flyers' perspective that, I mean, they know what they're getting in return, right? And it seems to me that they may feel that they're further along, that they're further back than where we think they are in terms of making the playoffs. And unless if there's something else coming imminently, I mean, is this giving up on the season here, like, or like building towards the future? Like, there's no other reason why you're giving up Morgan Frost, in my opinion. So it's something to keep in mind that maybe internally they feel that they're just not there right now, and they're building towards the future.
So I guess my kind of counterpoint, not really counterpoint, because I get the redraft picks in this too. My counterpoint to that would kind of be like, if you are thinking that, right, and you're like, all right, like we're not there, we're going to take a step back. I don't think you're getting rid of 2 young 20-year-old players. Like, I think those are the players that you're trying to bring in. I think you'd be looking to give up just a Scott Lawton or just somebody else kind of like that, that's kind of on the back half of the career. So that's why I was surprised by the move, because like this is almost more of like we have the depth and we need a top end player kind of move, or like if he was under contract for a while, like something like that, where it's like this almost feels like I don't want to say go for it move, because I think they lost the trade. So like that's why I don't really understand what the Flyers were doing with this one, is because like I can't really justify it with them as, okay, we're buyers here, but I also can't justify it as like they're selling and they're trying to build towards the future here. Because like I think if you're going to do that, you probably don't even want to take Kuzmenko. You're just like, all right, like give us a first instead of whatever they got, right? Like, so it's like, that's why I just don't understand what the Flyers were doing here.
So like, we need to wait and see if there's like something else happening here, because just the way that it's set up right now, it doesn't make sense. Like, are you in it or you're not?
It's something that I almost think this trade, like the trade would have made a lot more sense to me if this was like a Kuzmenko sign and trade kind of thing. Like that would have made it a lot more sense to me, because then it was like, okay, you think you're going out there and getting like a player that could be there for the next 5-6 years, like through the rest of his prime, that you think is going to be better than either of those guys. Like,
I don't think you want Kuzmenko on your team for 5 years, to be honest. That's
no, I get that, but like
we're losing in this.
And that's a different point entirely. I just mean like if you're doing that, it's like, all right, like we are going out and getting one piece for a while that's kind of going to help us through this, where it's like right now, if he walks at the end of the year, like were those trades really worth it just to clear $5 million for a couple of years from a young 20-year-old forward? I don't necessarily think so, especially kind of when you are in that rebuilding mode still. So no, I can't really figure it out from a Flyers point of view here.
Flyers, another team now that needs a center. The center market is crazy this year. I think that also takes Scott Lawton off the trade market too. I don't imagine they trade him now. There were obviously rumors about him potentially being on the move at one point. Can't imagine they do that. Maybe they even look to add. I will say it's going to be hard for the Habs to, I'm sure, based on how the market is here, not to turn this into a Habs thing, I guess, but Jake Evans is going to get a lot of Jake Evans is going to get a lot of interest, and I think they're going to be at a point where they're going to have to probably decide like it's too big of an offer to not move on from him, and hopefully we can just bring him back this summer as a free agent. But
this is a bigger discussion at some point. But like I think this is a really tough year for anyone who's looking to buy as a whole. Like a really tough year.
There's a lot of teams that are still feel like they're kind of in it. There's even a lot of names that are being rumored as like big names to be like on the move. I am very skeptical that these guys get moved. Like Brock Nelson is a guy who's been talked about for a long time. There's no fucking chance Brock Nelson gets traded. I don't see it. Like there's no way Lou is going to be anywhere close to the playoffs and be like, yeah, you know what, we're going to trade Brock Nelson. Whether they should or not, that's a whole like separate conversation. But like I don't see a guy like that getting moved. A lot of these guys who are on these like, you know, these insider trade boards that are like near the top, I don't think a lot of these guys are going to get moved. I just can't see it, honestly. Too many teams think they're in this race still.
And I think the top of these kind of trade boards or like potential UFAs, like whatever, however you want to look it up, like I just don't think it's as strong as it is most years. Like one of the players that keeps getting talked about the most that's on all these lists that you kind of talk about, like I see Trent Frederick's name there all the time. And it's like, do people realize that he's a good bottom six forward, but like, do people realize that he's a bottom six forward? Like, and he's listed as like one of the top 5 kind of trade targets going into the summer or like going into the playoff run. Like, it's really weak this year, I think, as far as like being a seller. And it's like, yeah, I think JT Miller's kind of like the big shoe that everybody's waiting to drop. But after that, like there's a big like gap between like him and like the next guys. I agree. Like, I don't think Brock Nelson's going. Like, Lou's not going to try to sell off this year. Like, I can't see him doing it. Even though he should. It's just like it is a point where like really bad
Yanni Gourde is going to be like the the best center available or something, and he's going to go for way more. Like he's going to go for like an Adam Henrique type of package. It's going to be crazy.
I think he might be after the JT Miller thing. It's just like it is really, really weak this year. It's a very bad year to be a buyer.
Yeah. Okay, let's get a couple more questions and we'll get these parlays and we'll get out of here. Is Edgework doing a show for Four Nations? We're definitely not doing a daily show or anything like that. Maybe we'll do like one sort of preview show before the tournament starts. I think it starts on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday. Maybe we'll do like a Monday or Tuesday show where we kind of look at the lines for the first handful of games and some future stuff and kind of give some picks. I think we'll do one show for it, but we're not going to be doing daily shows where, you know, we spend a Tuesday morning talking about Sweden against Finland. It's just not. It's just I don't think Swinland. I don't think there's an appetite for that. If everyone wants it, maybe. But yeah, Charles, I appreciate you stirring the pot here, but I don't think this is going to be for another day.
Moretto and I have discussed this at length offline as well too. So
this is all they talk about,
and we do not see eye to eye on that. So we'll continue.
As a shocking turn of events here, Moretto and I do not see eye to eye. Although we did agree on more than we're leading on. We did agree
maybe a little bit.
Here. I'm losing.
Yeah, if it was like if we're talking next 2 years, the Rangers have a better chance. After that, no. But anyways, no goal parlay quickly. Get that together in the background. The no goal parlay for tonight, using the BetStamp Pro tool to find these edges. We did, maybe burying the lead here, we did cash the no goal parlay last night. So after we came close to 2 nights before, did not get it. Frustratingly, did not get it home. We did get it home last night. Hopefully you tailed. I feel good about this one again tonight too. We have no goal parlay, Matt Duchene, Dallas, Steven Stamkos, Nashville, Nick Schmaltz, Utah, Martin Necas, Colorado. That is the no goal parlay tonight. We'll get it up on screen here. That is plus 220. One of the bigger ones that we have had. That is Stamkos, Duchene, Necas, and Schmaltz. I have already put that in. Yeah, I think let's go on a little run with these. All right, let's build this anytime goal parlay, and then we'll get out of here. We got some suggestions in the chat. We got a JJ Peterka. Fresh off that hat trick the other day from Brian. I know that so many of you are on the Preds here. Alber, you are on the Sabres, so I'm sure you're more likely to agree with this one. What do you think here, so many? You're good with this, or?
Sorry, I was looking at Ovechkin. There's something up for him to score to break the record this year. I think that I know we're running out of time, but I think that maybe we got time.
We still got to talk about the fact I scored in beer league last night. We're gonna be here a while.
Oh yeah, that's right. Albert messaged me that he got a big goal last night. I forgot. Really buried that lead. Actually,
never happens.
I think we're gonna start seeing more of these markets with him breaking the record this year. I think that he's
18 now. 17, 18? How many does he need now?
19 ties.
19 ties, 20 breaks.
19 ties. Okay.
Right? He's at plus 250 right now that I see. I don't see it in many places here. Oh, Charles, that's an amazing price. That's an amazing price, 10-1. And then they also have which team he's going to break it against, right? So I would suspect he does it at home, right? And then Columbus is plus 700, which puts us on April 13th. Right. So I would assume it's around the end of the season that he's going to break it. So yeah, April 13th, last home game of the season, Columbus at 7-1. Carolina on April 10th is 18-1 as well. So, and then Chicago on April 4th. Chicago might be a little bit too early. That's a 50-1. So I'm going to be working on
a hat trick in that Chicago game. All right, well, let's save this for Monday then, because Monday we got there's just one game Monday, so we'll have some stuff that we can get to. We'll talk some futures and stuff like that. I like that though. I do think I think it's more and more likely that he breaks it this year. He's getting empty netters. He's out there in every opportunity to get them, and they are good enough where they have a lot of opportunities for him to find empty netters. So I think that's not properly. I would have to do more work, but I don't think that's priced accordingly.
And I think that I think that the Four Nations break is really going to help him too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely recharge batteries a little bit.
They're force feeding him every possible opportunity at this point. So I never thought it was going to get done this year, but like they're making sure he gets it.
A comment from Zach here. He's got beer league tonight too. He's gonna put up a 3 spot and get the live barn for us to play on Monday. All right, settle down. Okay, so back to the goal scorer parlay. Peterka, are we in on Peterka or no?
Yeah, we're in.
We're in on Peterka. Then we have 2 suggestions from Columbus. We got to pick one. We got a Fantilli here, and we got a Sillinger. I prefer Sillinger, I think, at that price, and we just took Brian's Peterka. So let's get Sillinger in here. Sillinger,
sure.
Peterka. We got from the same game, a Hayton. We need ones from the other games here. Maybe just one tonight. We need
a Canuck so many.
A 3-player one.
We need a Canuck?
Yeah, give us a Canuck.
How about Connor Garland?
I think Garland's fine. Let's see if what I'm showing here.
What are the odds on JT Miller to score a goal and immediately punch Elias Pettersson in the face? Do we have that SGP right there? Zach just going full brag about his beer league career in the chat right now. It's great. Fun fact, Zach scored 4 goals in the beer league once, guys.
It was probably they rented the ice for a family shinny skate, and it was no goalies. That's my guess.
4 goals in a game. I don't think I've scored 4 goals in beer league in the last 6 months.
Stankoven plus 350 here. If we want one from that game.
Let's go with JT Miller. What's his price?
310.
Miller is 310. Good number. Pretty good number. All right. So JT Miller, JJ Peterka, and Cole Sillinger. We're gonna leave it at 3, I think, tonight. Let's leave it at 3. We don't have to force one in the last.
No, we got
game.
4 games. 4 games. Make it 4.
And unless someone jumps out at you right now, then pick someone right now from the last game.
Arturi Lehkonen. Go.
All right.
I know you'd never say no to him.
Fucking guy knows how. Yeah, he knows that I would never see Lehkonen.
Because here's the problem with that is this would be the one that we hit, and it would only be 3. And we're gonna have to listen to that fucking moron Joey Konishko. Oh, you guys just kept reducing until you finally.
Honestly, it was at 69-1. 69-1 was a pretty good number. I think he just
69-1. That's still bigger than the ones he's missed on all year. But yeah, we got to hit one of these. We got to hit a 4.
JJ Peterka, Cole Sillinger, JT Miller, Arturi Lehkonen, 208-1. $10 wins you 2,081. That will do it for us tonight. Today, Jesus, it's been a long show.
Tonight, it feels like tonight. We've been here forever.
Yeah, it does feel like tonight. Honestly, it's pretty dark and gloomy here, and where I am too. Appreciate everyone who tuned in here today and all week. YouTube, Twitter, wherever you get your podcasts, all that stuff. Again, if you take a second to like, subscribe, leave a comment, anything you can do to help us we'd really appreciate it. We will be back next week. Monday morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Until then, enjoy the games tonight and good luck on your bets.